Hey guys, it's Grand Admiral Thrawn fan, and I'm back with the second edition in my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ranking. Today I'm taking a look at my personal favorite Ninja Turtle, the leader in blue himself, Leonardo. I've been very excited to get to do this video, especially because in my last video, you guys actually had a very positive reaction to me going through and ranking the Ninja Turtles. So far I've only done Raph, but yeah, I'm very excited to get to do Leo, because with Leo, there are actually barely any bad versions of Leo, so that actually is very helpful for making this video. And yeah, Leo is my favorite Ninja Turtle. I can't wait to cover him. If you didn't see the last video, basically all I do is I go through, I'd go and rank all the different versions of Leo across movies and TV shows. There's a total of 10 so far, and so I'm going to be ranking all 10 of those iterations of Leonardo. So with that out of the way, I'm going to quit stalling, and I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and deal with the ultimate worst Leonardo ever. So starting this ranking off in number 10, you know exactly who it is. It's the Next Mutation Leonardo. The Next Mutation sucks. Like, I don't know why I was ever nostalgic for it as a kid. I do think there are some moments where the show isn't completely horrible, and there are just like some small shines of glitter in there. However, the worst turtle they adapted is easily Leonardo, because in this show, Leo is just so bad. He's annoying, he's whiny, his design sucks. I don't know why he has the whole, like, half of his head covered in the mask. That's the sort of thing that Raph pulls off, but I don't know if any of the other turtles really do. And it's just weird, like, his bandana lines go down way too far. It's kind of like how Venus's is a ponytail, while Leo's go down just as far as hers. He's just got such a weird shell design, too. The suits look clunky, and he's always making these stupid faces. I'm not even really a fan of his voice. And then just to top it all off, he's just inconsistently written, and like one episode he's the brave leader that everybody follows, and then in the next nobody ever listens to him, and then he's just whining. It's just so bad. He's just so inconsistently written. So yeah, obviously this is a great character. No, he's inconsistently written. He will just zig and zag every minute of an episode. And then here's a dumb change that I hate that they made. They gave Leo, instead of having 2 swords, they gave him 1 sword. Now, I don't actually mind that. If Leo just has 1 sword, yes, it bothers me, but I can accept that. But what I can't accept is how this Leo, they gave him a stupid scissor sword handle of that he can move his blade into splitting into 2, and then it's like a giant pair of scissors. That is so stupid. Who would want that? But that's not even the worst thing about this Leo. And there is one moment from the show that I feel like can sum it up the best. So in the show, basically all 4 turtles are very horny for Venus. But there is one scene where when they first meet her, Leo takes her out separately and is talking with her personally, and Venus is talking about how she's always felt so alone and she's finally happy to have met her family. And then Leo says something so dumb. This is what he says. Now, I'm actually going to break it up into different points of what he says, but what he says is, actually, none of us are related. Now, this is where a good writer would have written something along the lines of Leo saying, but our bond is stronger than blood. This show doesn't say that. So, you know what Leo says to the girl who wants comfort and has always felt alone in her life? He says, and I quote, actually, we're not related, so you and I, we're just turtle boy and turtle girl. That is right. He is hitting on her when she is opening up about how she's always felt so alone. This Leo is just so badly written, and I want this segment to end. But before I can end it, there's a story I want to tell you. And I don't actually know how valid this story is, but apparently... Okay, no, wait, no. Knowing this show, this story is 100% valid because it is such a dumb story, and with how dumb this show was, yeah, it's 100% true, I feel like. So apparently when they were first making the Next Mutation, Venus was going to have a pink mask. But then they decided, well, no, we can't just give her a pink mask. That'll just make her the girly one, even though her whole personality is kind of just the girl who nags. Anyway, so then their ingenious idea, you want to know what it was? Let's give Venus a blue mask. But wait, there's already a turtle with a blue mask. Okay, we'll take the previously established turtle who has a blue mask and give him a yellow mask. That's what people want. And then they realized that it was a stupid idea. So you know what their solution was? They just decided, okay, well, them both having a blue mask isn't that bad. We'll just give him a darker blue mask and her a lighter blue mask. Just decide that from the beginning if that's what you want, or give her the yellow mask. It's so obvious. I don't even want to talk about this show anymore. It's just so bad, and Leo is easily the turtle that is the worst in the whole show. I'm so glad that this is the only bad turtle on this list, because from here on out, Leo has actually got a lot of great adaptations, and I'm so glad that he only has one bad one. Unfortunately, this one bad version of him might be the worst version of any Ninja Turtle in all of Ninja Turtles history. But moving on to number 9. Okay, I promise I'm not a hater of Mutant Mayhem. I actually really do like Mutant Mayhem. They're just ranked lower on this list because, well, for one, they're the newer versions and I've only seen their movie like twice. I do really think this Leo is funny. And here's the other thing. There's just no bad Leo adaptations moving forward from the Next Mutation. This Leo is funny. I like his personality and how he wants to be this leader, but his brothers don't actually think of him like that, so he's just he has no confidence, and I actually really like that. I like his design, I really like his voice, I think they handle that all greatly, and he has 2 swords, I like that he has the blue knee pads and just tape wrapping. If I had to have a bit of an issue with this Leo, it's kind of that after the Mutant Mayhem movie, where Leo kind of gained some confidence towards the end of the movie, like in the first season of Tales of the TMNT, which is the only season I've actually seen, it's kind of like all that confidence has just gone out the window. So I'm not really a fan of that, and it's just, and also in the short they played before the one SpongeBob movie, Chrome Alone 2, Lost in New York, Leo doesn't really have his confidence that he had gained at the end of the first movie. So I kind of wish that if he kept that, he probably could have been ranked a little higher. But who knows, maybe the second movie will make him go up a lot higher in this list. I do genuinely like this Leo. He's probably my favorite turtle from Mutant Mayhem. It's just simply the fact there's a lot of better Leos, and I haven't really gotten enough exposure from this Leo. I do still think he's really good, though. Okay, before I move on, I gotta get this out of the way. This is probably the most controversial take I have on this entire list. And that is, in 8th place, I have the 80s cartoon Leonardo. Now, before you start rioting and getting your pitchforks and torches, I think this Leo is awesome. He is easily the most iconic Leo there has ever been, because the 80s Turtles are the most iconic version of the Ninja Turtles. And I do think this Leo is cool. He's kind of like, he nails all the things that you need for Leo. However, I think it's kind of obvious when you watch the 80s cartoon, Leo is definitely the turtle with the least personality. And you can kind of tell that because in the show's intro, they go over each turtle, and each turtle has a line after they say their thing. Like, for example, Donatello does machines. That's a fact, Jack. But when they do Leo, it's just Leonardo leads. Leo doesn't have a line he says after that. It's just Leonardo leads, then it cuts to Donatello does machines, then Raphael is cool but rude, give me a break. Michelangelo is a party dude, party! But there's no line for Leo. And you can kind of just sum his entire personality up from this show as he's the leader, and he tells the others when to do the right thing. Now, I do think Leo has some moments where he gets episodes dedicated to him. For example, there's an episode where Leonardo is missing, and then Bebop pretends to be Leonardo. But I don't know. I just think that out of all the turtles in the 80s cartoon, Leo easily has the least personality. That design, though, is a perfect 10 out of 10. I mean, it's just so iconic. He's awesome. I really like his voice actor. And Leo's great. It's just, I don't know. I feel like he has the least personality out of all the turtles here. And I can't really justify putting him up higher because this is my opinion. So yeah, moving on to number 7, I have 2014 and Out of the Shadows Leo. Now, what I will say is if you feel like I should have put the 80s Leo above this one, that's valid. However, I am very nostalgic for the 2014 movie and Out of the Shadows. So I can tell there's a bit of nostalgia for it. But even I'm willing to admit that in the 2014 movie, Leo is easily the turtle who gets like the least attention put onto him. However, why do I feel like putting him over the 80s Leo in that case? It's because of this Leo's little moments that he has. Because in the first movie, Leo just has a couple little moments here and there that just give him so much great character moments that I really like, and he just has so much personality in those little moments. In Out of the Shadows, they do try to make Leo more of a main character, like how Leo wants to, like he's making the decision for all of them of that they don't need to be human, and then he has to realize that maybe they want to be human, and he lets them choose. I think that's great, but what I really like are his little moments in the first movie. I like the scene where Raph is like yelling at April about how he's gonna crush the phone, and then Leo just leaps off the water tower and yells, "Enough!" And that's enough to get Raph to back off. Like, yeah, Raph is begrudgingly doing it, but that's how their dynamic usually works, of that Leo's in charge and Raph knows this and he begrudgingly accepts it. That's a great moment. I like the truck scene where when the truck is going overboard, Leo is the turtle who saves Vern and April. I like the scene in where when the Foot have all those hostages in the train station, Leo has the funny line of where when the train comes around the corner, he yells, "All aboard!" just like Crazy Train. That is awesome. I really like all of that. And also, side note, I never thought Johnny Knoxville would be able to pull off voicing a Ninja Turtle, but he is great as a Leonardo voice. Like, he knows when to have the serious voice and when to just be funny. Like, that's great. I really like that. I like when Leo fights Shredder. I don't know why Johnny Knoxville isn't Leo in Out of the Shadows. Was there like a contract dispute or something? Because I don't know what Johnny Knoxville was too busy doing to do Ninja Turtles 2. Anyway, I really like this Leo's design. I know it's controversial, but I kind of like how he has like a samurai armor design going for him. That's pretty cool. And I think he makes for a pretty good leader. However, I'm willing to admit the 80s turtle is probably better than this Leo. But I still really like him, and yeah, I feel like putting him in 7th place is fine. Now, moving on to number 6. Okay, before you get mad at me, I'm willing to admit this. I am not the person you go to when you want to talk about the 2003 show. I've said that before in my Raph video. However, I've gone out of my way just to find this Leo's clips because his aura farming moments are awesome. Let me just add on to what I was saying there. I don't have anything against the 2003 show. I've seen bits of it. It's just I've never watched it all entirely. But from what I have seen, this Leo is awesome. I love all of his aura farming moments. I think he has a great voice. I really like that one, like his dynamic with Karai. That's great of how they're on the opposite sides, but he still thinks she has honor in her. That's really great. I like this Leo's design. It looks ripped right out of the comic books. That's something really cool I like about the 2003 show is that their designs are very much inspired based off the comic books. But when I say that this Leo has great aura farming moments, I'm thinking of like this training scene where Splinter is making it that all of the turtles have to try and put out a candle that he's holding. and all three of his brothers fail, and then Splinter thinks he's won, and Leo just emerges from the shadows and slices the candle off of where Splinter's holding it, and then it goes out. That's really cool. I think of his fights with Karai. Those are all cool. But the moment I think of the most with this Leo is when he's fighting Karai, and then she falls over off of like the scaffolding or bridge or whatever it is, and he catches her, and then she takes one of his swords, and while they're fighting, Shredder sneaks up behind Leo and kicks him into Karai's blade, which is Leo's own blade, and then he gets stabbed right through the shell. That moment is awesome, and it just shows like what they were willing to do with this Leo. I've looked into it. I think this Leo is great, and they do the window scene very well. This is just a really solid Leo that I do think I should actually look into more, but I haven't done that yet. If I had seen more of the 2003 show, I can guarantee this Leo would be in the top 5. However, I haven't, so he made it in 6th place. Still, I do think this Leo is pretty cool. Alright, moving on to number 5, I have the 90s trilogy. Now, in my Raphael video, I definitely said that the later movies of the 90s trilogy are kind of holding Raph back, but I didn't really take that into account as much. This is definitely a case of where I'm taking that into account, because in the first movie, this Leo is great. I really like how they show him as the leader and how he butts heads with Raph, but he cares about all of his brothers, in how he's willing to wait by Raph's side the entire time that Raph is in the coma. That's great. I really like all of that. I like his fighting moments, and when they're in the farmhouse, Leo is the one meditating, and that's how he's able to reach Splinter's spirit. That is great. I really like all of this Leo's moments in the first movie in the trilogy. And I really like his design. That's iconic. He's got a couple funny moments that he lets shine here and there. Like when they're walking through the sewer and they're going through like, awesome, righteous, bodacious. And then Donnie says bossa nova. And then Leo and Mikey just look at him weird. That's really cool. I like that. I like his design very much in the first movie. But like I said, the other two movies kind of hold this Leo back because Leo doesn't have too much in the first movie. He's definitely there, but that is clearly Raph is the main turtle. But I do really like all of his moments, especially when he fights Shredder and Shredder tells them that he killed Splinter, and Leo flips out and charges at him. That's great. However, in the later movies of this series, you go from that Leo to when Super Shredder is attacking them, he runs up and is like, Shredder, you're gonna kill all of us. Like, that Shredder is trying to kill all of you. What are you doing there? And the worst scene is by far in Secret of the Ooze, when the three turtles are caught in a net because they tried to save Raph, how they're just panicking like, what are we gonna do? And Leo has his swords on his back. I'm just like, I have screamed at the TV, use your swords, so much because of that scene. And then in the Turtles in Time, I don't even know what I can really say about Leo. I think he's the one who does CPR on the kid. So that's kind of cool, but it's just, this Leo is definitely held back because of the later two movies in the trilogy. I actually did have him in 4th place at first, but I realized that, yeah, this Leo gets held back, and also that I like the guy in 4th place more. Now, this might be a bit of a shocker to you, because I've made it clear I am not a fan of this of the show. However, in 4th place, I have the one and only Rise of the TMNT Leonardo. Now, before I go into why I like this Leo, let me go into why I shouldn't like this Leo. This is a Leo who is not the serious leader. He's not even the leader at all. If anything, he's more of the jokester on the team. He has superpowers. He's a different type of turtle than all the other turtles. And just, he's a goofball who doesn't take anything seriously. And he's from Rise of the TMNT, which I am not really a fan of that show. However, for some reason, this Leo just works for me. Okay, Ben Schwartz just... I don't know why. There is so much stacked against this Leo on why I shouldn't like him. And yet he just is, like... I don't know. He's just entertaining to me. I really like this Leo, okay? I think he's entertaining. He is funny. And yeah, he's just... I like him, okay? Now, I will say this. If I hadn't seen the movie Rise of the TMNT, the movie, this Leo would definitely be way lower on the list. However, in that movie, they take the goofball Leo who doesn't care about anything, and they give him a whole movie dedicated to him becoming the iconic Leonardo that we all know, who is the serious leader and takes things seriously and cares about his brothers. I really like that, okay? And yet this Leo can still be funny. Okay, real quick though, I gotta point this out. As much as I hate giving the Ninja Turtles superpowers, portal swords are kinda cool. I gotta admit that. I still don't like him having that power because these are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not the Teenage Mutant Superhero Turtles. I don't like that, okay? However, I do like giving this Leo just... I think he, like, it's cool. That's all I have to say about it, really. I think it's cool when he uses his portal swords. However, like I was saying with the movie... They take this goofball who doesn't care and they make him care and realize that if he doesn't start acting seriously, he's gonna lose his family that he loves so much. And I think that's great. Ben Schwartz does a really good job as this Leo. I really like all of that. And I think his best scene is easily when he makes Casey close the portal to Dimension X with him still on the other side holding Krang back. That scene is great, and how Krang is just beating Leo senselessly, saying how, you think you've won? I will enact vengeance upon you for years. And yet Leo is still smiling the whole time, even though he's getting beaten and he's crying. He has a smile on his face because he knows his family will be safe. So yes, I also really like his dynamic with Casey, of how Casey Jones is from the future, and he's time traveled back to, like, in his time, Leo is the great leader that he knows and respects. But then when he meets this Leo, he realizes, you're not my Leo. You're just a jerk, kind of. You don't take anything seriously, and you're going to lose your family if you don't start being that. And that's what hurts Leo the most and makes him change. I really like that. And if it wasn't for that movie, this Leo would be much lower. However... he's just so entertaining in this show. I even like his design of how he has the red lines around his eyes. That's pretty cool to me. But yeah, he didn't make the top 3. And in third place, this one's actually a bit of a shocker to me. But I have, in third place, Batman vs. TMNT, Leonardo. Now, the reason this Leo is a bit of a shocker to me is because there's nothing really stand-outish about this Leo. However, when I thought about it and rewatched Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I realized something. There is actually stuff that I like about this Leo, because they go over just like so many of the great Leonardo plot lines with this Leo. They go over his fear of losing his brothers when Scarecrow sprays him with fear toxin. They make him the driver of the turtle van. They make him the leader who's butting heads with Raph throughout the movie. There's just so many great things. They make it how he's Splinter's student who's learned the most from Splinter. They cover all the grounds with this Leo, and I really like all of that. He kind of does like a samurai sword hilt with his blades, and I think that's fine, but I personally prefer when Leo has his swords on his back. But yeah, this Leo's really good. I think he's just a generally all-around solid Leo that nails a bunch of the focal points of being Leo. Plus, we get to see this Leo being teamed up with Batman. And when the Turtles are fighting Batman, Leo is kind of the only turtle holding his ground up against Batman. That's pretty cool. I really like all of that. Like, I don't know, I just really like seeing this Leo teamed up with Batman. And then later in the movie, we get to see him and Donnie fighting Ra's al Ghul. But shortly into the fight, Donnie gets taken out of the fight. And so then it's just Leo versus Ra's, and Leo is losing the fight. And Ra's even says to him, I've lived thousands of years and learned from all of history's greatest martial artists. What chance do you have? And then this Leo takes him down by kicking him in the balls and then using a magical, martial arts thing that he's learned from Splinter and says, yeah, well, I'm 16 and I learned this from a rat. And it doesn't clash with the tone. It just, that scene is so great to me. I really like that. And yeah, I really like this Leo. Now, this is something I wanted to say in the Raph video, but I ran out of time. Why haven't we gotten a sequel to Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? This movie is awesome. It's got an amazing Rotten Tomatoes score, and it's not like this is a theatrical release thing. This is just a straight-to-DVD movie they have to make, and they make those all the time. The Ninja Turtles can cross over with anybody. How come we can't get a sequel to this? And they have done several crossovers with Batman, so yeah, because I want to see this universe's iterations of the other Robins, of Casey Jones, of April, of Splinter. There's so many characters. Could you imagine this Leo teaming up with Nightwing? Or that Raph teaming up with Red Hood? How awesome would that be? So yeah, I think there's a lot more potential for the Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Leo, and they just haven't really given him a chance to do that yet. So, yeah, in third place, I have Batman vs. TMNT Leo. And moving on, in second place, I have the one and only TMNT 2007 Leo. Now, this whole movie depends on a Leo versus Raph dynamic, and it does an excellent job at that, but you have to really like both the Leo and the Raph for it to work. I had the Raph pretty high on my last video ranking when I did Raphs. So, yeah, this Leo, I genuinely really like him. I love the performance that James Arnold Taylor does as Leonardo, which is weird because every time I go a while without seeing this movie, my head just instinctually thinks, wait, do I think James Arnold Taylor is actually a great fit for Leo? Even though I've seen this movie before I saw James Arnold Taylor as Obi-Wan, my head just, it mixes itself up. And then when I rewatch the movie, I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. This Leo, he's great as James. James Arnold Taylor is amazing as Leo. I really like how this Leo is a Leo that Splinter has sent off on his own to be kind of a protector of the innocent in other country. I really like that, where he's just taking out these mercenaries. That opening scene of Leo versus those mercenaries is awesome, of how he's just taking guys out from in the shadows. And then when he finally comes out of the shadow, the one guy is just terrified of what he's seen. That's great. I really like his dynamic with his other brothers in this movie. We don't really get to see a lot of it with him and Donnie. We get a bit of it with him and Mikey, but it's mostly just between him and Raph. And it's just great. I really like that. Side note, it's actually raining right now, which is kind of perfect for this Leo because of the fight on the building in the rain. Anyway, his bond with Raph, I really like how the whole movie Raph is clashing heads with Leo, and Leo's just trying to become friends with his brother again, but Raph won't let him. Every time Leo tries talking to Raph, Raph just insults him oh, just get out of here. It's what we know you're good for. And that's great. And I like how Leo is actually listening to Splinter when he forbids them to fight, and Leo goes out and sees the Night Watcher. Now, what I really like is in this movie, Leo and Raph are both kind of in the wrong. However, when Leo sees the Night Watcher, from his perspective, this guy is at a crime scene holding the money, and the guy who works there is cowering in fear. And then when Leo chases down the Night Watcher, he doesn't fight him, he reasons with him, and then Raph is trying to fight Leo, and Leo doesn't throw a single punch until the very end. He throws one punch up against this Raph. That's great. And then there's their amazing rooftop fight, And I really love how Leo says to Raph, I left to try and become a better leader for you guys. Why do you hate me for that? That's just a great scene. I love their fight. It's just the animation is amazing in that fight. And this is just such a great Leo. I really like all of that. I love the scene of where he gets taken and is used as the 13th monster, and Raph has just realized what he's done. And then when they free Leo, how Raph gives him his swords and says, you're going to need these to lead us out of here. And you can tell their bond is getting restored. That's great. I really like this Leo. And yeah, he is a solid Leo, and he made it very high up on this list. But there was one turtle who I knew was, like, one Leo that I knew was always going to be number one on this list. And that Leo is the TMNT 2012, aka Nickelodeon's 2012 Leonardo. I grew up with this show, and even when I was a kid, Leo was always my favorite of the turtles. There was a point where it was Donnie, but I've always really loved this Leo. He is fantastic. I love almost every aspect about this Leo's character. His journey across the entire show is amazing. I love his design and how he has the strap that goes over his shoulder and he holds his swords there. I like how his tape that he has wrapped around his knees and like his knee pads, they have a different color that makes for a great design. I love his two swords and how one is slightly longer than the other. I really like his blue eyes. That's great, so you can tell which turtle is which. I like how he's the second tallest of all of his brothers because Donnie is the tallest turtle. I really, really like this Leo. He's got such a great dynamic with all of his brothers and Splinter. You can just pick any other character from the show, and I will tell you what Leo's dynamic is with them, as long as it's a main character, like April, one of the turtles, Casey, Splinter, Karai. He has such an amazing dynamic with Karai in how he's kind of the one who redeems her from being Shredder's daughter, and how he sees the good in her first, and then he kind of is the reason why Splinter then sees the good in her, and then all of his brothers see the good in her, and then she sees the good in herself. That is great. I really like this Leo. He's just so... this Leo is so great. He manages to go through 3 voice actors during the course of this show, and yet all 3 feel like the same character. Now, first you have Jason Biggs, who started out as Leo. He voiced him from season 1 all the way to most of season 2, and he has such a perfect Leonardo voice. He does a great job of having his fun moments. He has a great job of doing his serious moments. And yeah, he does such a good job. Then you have the guy who takes over for the middle of season 2 to the season 2 finale. And this guy's job was basically just to copy Jason Biggs' voice because they fired Jason Biggs for something controversial. Anyway, he does such a good job of copying that voice. Most people don't even know that Leo changes his voice actor in the middle of season 2. And then you have Seth Green take over from season 3 all the way to the finale. And the thing I love the most about Seth Green's voice as Leo is that they don't just act like this is Leo's voice now. In the story, Leo was injured, and then Seth Green takes over as the injured voice for Leo. I really like that. The only issue I have with Seth Green as Leo's voice from then on is that they kind of act like this is how Leo has always sounded, and I'm not a fan of that. It's fine when he's voicing baby Leo because that's a baby Leo. He's going to grow up and his voice will change. But it's like when they do a flashback to the pilot in Mikey's head, and then they redub over the lines with Seth Green. Like, if it's an issue that you just don't have Leo's line there, and if it's not, then just get the second guy who voiced Leo to come in and do it. Like, I don't know why they started pushing it of that Leo has always been voiced by Seth Green in the later episodes. But that's fine. That's like my only issue with Seth Green as Leo in this show. And going back to his personality, I really love this Leo's personality. He is fun. He wants to be this great leader, and they go over the responsibilities that it takes to be a leader and the impact and just the struggles that leaders deal with. And I love that he's fun, too. He's a nerd who likes watching Space Heroes, which is just a knockoff Star Trek. That's great. I really like all of this Leo's personality. He's just fun. He's the leader, and he's a great character. And there are 3 episodes in particular that I want to cover that show off some of this Leo's best moments. And those 3 episodes are the season 2 finale, Vision Quest, and Owari. Now, in the season 2 finale, you are given this great scene of where Leo is separated from his brothers, and then Shredder baits him into a trap because Shredder wants revenge for what happened to Karai, and he wants to bait out Splinter too. So Leo is on his own, and something that's great about this fight is that usually the 2012 show has such great color in their background, but when Leo enters Shredder's trap, everything is just grayer, and like most of the color has been drained from the environment. It's just gray and dark, and Leo is outnumbered, having to fight through all of Shredder's footbots, and as he fights through them, he slowly loses his swords, and then he's down to just a knife, and then he gets pushed into a creek in freezing water, and he crawls his way out just to have Shredder finally be ready to send in Tiger Claw, Fishface, and Razar to finish him. And Leo is cold, he's beaten and alone, and yet he still manages to tough through each one of them. He beats Fishface, he defeats Razar, and then he even manages to take down Tiger Claw and gets back up, and you think Leo might actually get out of this. But then Shredder shows up from behind and strikes him right in the head, and that's what damages his throat, and that's when Seth Green needs to take over voicing Leo, and Leo is knocked out and unconscious, and he's in the coma. And then we get the scene where Tiger Claw throws Leo through the window, and all of the turtles and April and Casey are looking at him, and they see what has happened to him. Mikey even says, dudes, his shell is cracked, and you can just hear like the heartbreak in Mikey when he sees Leo there. It's such a great scene, and it shows Leo's dedication and determination. I really love that scene. And then you move into the forest arc where the turtles are in the woods, and we get how Leo's leg is not healing right. It'll heal in an episode, and then it'll go back to hurting again, and it's like Leo keeps giving it time. And then we get Vision Quest, where Leo realizes that they need to go off and complete their spirit journey. And we get an episode that gives all 4 turtles an arc, sort of. That is great. However, I'm mostly going to be talking about Leo's arc in that 4-parter. And Leo goes off, and he's fighting in the Vision Quest. In the Vision Quest, Mikey is fighting Razar, Raph is fighting Fishface, Donnie is fighting Tiger Claw. But Leo has to confront Shredder in the spirit world. And he's not ready because his leg is still hurting. He's using a bow and arrow, which is really cool. And he keeps fighting Shredder, but he's losing the fight. And Shredder just keeps getting more powerful during the fight. And then Leo realizes that the pain in his leg is all in his head. And it's like a mental block that he's holding himself back because he doesn't think he's ready to go back and fight Shredder again after his defeat in the season 2 finale. And there are a ton of other great episodes that show Leo moments, like the season 1 finale where Leo realizes that he's willing to sacrifice himself to save his brothers and the world. That's great. However, none show off Leo better than the season 4 finale, Owari. This is when Leo has lost Splinter, and the turtles are going to defeat Shredder once and for all. And in the whole episode, they're making their way through, defeating all of Shredder's henchmen. And when Leo is confronting Tiger Claw says my favorite line that he's ever had in the entire show, where he says to Leo, Do you feel that, boy? The weight of the world crashing down on you now that you've lost your sensei? And you can see how it's getting to Leo. Leo is heartbroken at the fact, like all the turtles are, that they lost Splinter. And Leo is just, he loses his temper, and then he defeats Tiger Claw there. And then we move on to the final battle between the turtles and Shredder on the rooftop, where it's burning. All of the turtles are wearing like their black armored up disguises for the final battle. And it's great. We get to see them all fighting Shredder one at a time. As a team, then, even. It's great. We get to see them all fighting. But slowly, one by one, all of the turtles are knocked off of the rooftop except Leo. And this is his final fight with Shredder. And all of the tension is building up. There's even the callback to how at the end of Vision Quest, Leo says, I faced you in the spirit world, and someday I'm going to defeat you in the real world. As in this fight, Leo is alone. He's losing the fight to Super Shredder, and he's just getting beaten. And then he tries, not necessarily appealing to Shredder's humanity, more so he calls out Shredder of how he's lost his humanity. You're just a monster. You're just a demon, he tells Shredder. And Shredder realizes, like, what has he become in his pursuit for revenge? That is amazing. And when Leo thinks that he's about to lose and all is lost, Splinter appears and tells him, Leonardo, have no fear. And then Leo gains what he needed in order to finally face Shredder and take down the Shredder. He is fighting Super Shredder, he's kicking him, he's beating him, and then Leo gets back to his last sword that's on the rooftop because his other one got knocked down. And then Leo leaps, and we see the slice as it hits Shredder, and then it just fades to black. And then we cut down back to the bottom of the building where the other turtles are watching, and they're wondering, what's happened? Where's Leo? Is he gone? Like, what's happening? And then Leo appears from up top, and he's holding the helmet/head of Super Shredder, and he says, the Shredder is no more, and he drops the helmet. That scene is so amazing. And honestly, if that is when the show had ended, it might have been for the better. I still like the 5th season, and I'm glad it exists, of TMNT 2012. However, that season is kind of just a drawn-out epilogue. Now, I love this Leonardo. He is my favorite version of any Ninja Turtle out of all of the iterations we've ever gotten. And more importantly, if someone were to ask me who is my favorite superhero, I would tell them Leonardo from Nickelodeon's 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I love Leo's character and the journey he goes on through the entire show. And this is my ideal Leonardo. It was never even close. The 2007 Leo is great. There are a lot of great Leos. But I always knew when I was making this ranking that 2012 Leo would come in first. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. I'm a huge Ninja Turtles fan. I can't wait to go through and rank Mikey, Donnie, and I might even include some other non-turtle characters in these rankings. I'm so glad I decided to do these. These are a lot of fun. I get to talk about all the different versions of Ninja Turtles and my opinions on them. This is a lot of fun. And yeah. So let me know down in the comments, who's your favorite version of Leo, the leader in blue? Is it anything but the Next Mutation will be an acceptable answer? So yeah, this is Grand Admiral Thrawn fan signing off, and this video was way longer than I expected it would be. I was hoping to make this one shorter than the Raph video, but I just had so much to say about Leo because he's my favorite turtle. So yeah, this is Grand Admiral Thrawn fan signing off, and I look forward to our next encounter in my next video. Goodbye, because this is the end, or as they say, Owari.